Hi, I'm Mac McCarthy, and I help people with their breakups. And today we got a great topic for you. Why your wife fell out of love with you. It wasn't you, or was it you? Good question. You know, this comes up a lot, actually, in breakup coaching. If you're looking to unpack your breakup story, go to writemac.com, send your story, and we can unpack it in a FaceTime or Skype. Otherwise, come on the live stream, reveal what you want to reveal, just like right now. But anyhow, why your wife fell out of love with you. And I find that this is one of these reoccurring themes. There's a lot of generalizations out there, but it seems like this is one of those moments that a lot of guys have in a breakup where the relationship's stale on both ends. You both are a little bit bored, comfortable, in a routine that is just flat boring. But for some reason, I think men don't mind that as much. And in a lot of cases, women will sometimes, that's when they'll go, you know what, I fell out of love with you. And it's just one of those reoccurring themes where you hear, I no longer love you, or I'm not in love with you anymore. I don't have the same feelings. And I don't know if that comes up a lot for men, where they use that kind of wording when they break up. And what I find is a lot of times the man in the situation will blame himself. Oh, it was me. I didn't do enough. You know, we were sleeping in separate rooms. We weren't chatting enough. I didn't make enough effort. La-di-yada-yada. But it goes both ways, right? I think there is times where you just get bored with each other. And one of the things that comes up a lot, and I hear people say it in the comments, in the live stream, in the comments on my videos, is you always got to date your wife. You always got to keep dating your long-term partner. And sometimes that makes me cringe a little bit, because to me, it's a surface-based answer that's true in a lot of ways. But I've known couples that stayed together a long, long, long time, and they don't seem to go on a lot of dates. Now, it just depends on your relationship. But I would say that when someone says they fell out of love with you and you think, oh, I stopped dating, or I stopped courting, or I stopped making her feel special, important, whatever, it's not all that happened. There's more than meets the eye, as the great Transformer said. Right? It's deeper than that. And that's why I wrote, it wasn't you, or was it? Because if someone falls out of love with you, there's some other things playing a role. There's some other things playing a role in the breakup. And I've noticed, and the reason I brought this up, and you know, I don't know where you're at in the world, and a lot of people haven't been able to go out for a long time, but I think things are starting to open up, thank God. And let's just say you go out to a restaurant in 2021, or even last year, and how much has this changed over 10 years ago? Where basically you see couples sit down, look each other with a smile sometimes, what have you, and immediately go onto their phones. Now, it used to be like, I don't know, 20%, or wow, that person was like, I think it's up to 50, 60%. And I wouldn't even say all these couples are in bad places. I think it's just that there's an overwhelming addiction to being on your phone, an addiction to being stimulated by content. And so even if you go on these dates, and by the way, Chuckster, what's your definition of a date? Good point. Because I was thinking about this. I remember this might sound very vanilla, but I remember most of my quote unquote dates before officially being girlfriend and boyfriend. Go out to dinner, go out to lunch, go to the movies, come over to my house after we have dinner, watch a movie. Maybe you do something different in the beginning a couple times. Maybe you try something outside the box, like miniature golf or arcade or something like that. That's just a random thought. But if you really think about it, aren't most of the dates leading up, Rob, Chuckster, who are on deck, what do you think? Like thinking back to when you've courted a girlfriend or a wife. I don't know if you've been married before, Rob or Chuck, but long-term relationship before you really became official. What were the dates? Was it mostly going out to dinner? I wonder about that. That'd be a good question for a lot of people is, what would be a date? And what were the dates that you went on that were fun and exciting that worked? And I think why dinner is such a classic cliche date is because you sit down, you're one-on-one, right? You're one-on-one, and hopefully if you go to a place that has good food, you're enjoying something that's naturally pleasurable, because food's pleasurable. I didn't realize this till after detox. I did a detox and I wasn't able to eat good food. It's pleasurable. And so if it's really good food combined with that, and then if you just grease the wheels with a little bit of wine or beer, which isn't needed, but it greases the wheels for sure. And then you got a nice conversation, hopefully. I haven't had too many dates where the conversation was just dull in the beginning. I'm a conversationalist. I can talk about a lot of different things. Even if I'm not interested in that woman, we can still have a conversation. Now, that being said, I'm just wondering, though, do you have a go-to date or two? Right? Is there something that you've done differently than going out to dinner, going to the movies? What would be the top 5 dates? This is a good way to unpack this, Chuckster, Rob, Sabina. Going out to dinner. Maybe the movies is finished now that we have Netflix. So watching a movie at your house. God, I think I would come up with more of these. Going to the beach, having lunch. I think that one thing is nice is if you're able to go for a walk after dinner, if you're in a downtown or something like that. But this is actually a really good topic for a future one. Because, I mean, what are ideal dates? I do hiking. Hiking's a big one for me. Take them to dance. Picnic on beach is my thing, Sabina. Wow. Angel, take them to dance. Wow. I've never been a great dancer. But you know what? If you own it and you're not a good dancer and you still make an attempt, it's humorous, right? Chuck E. Cheese is always fun, says Chuckster. Long walks on the beach, a line used over 100 years. You're right, bud. But isn't that funny though? When someone says you still got to date your wife or your girlfriend, what is that? Going to dinner? Maybe I'm just projecting because I look back at my relationships and we went out to dinner and went out to eat a lot. That was our thing. We would go to the movies, do things like that. Going on a hike's a great one. You do need access to some nature and wildlife. I agree with that one. You have to be. So give me something that's semi-inventive, Rob. Give me an example of something that's impressive. I didn't mean to go here on the live stream. This is what I like about the live streams. We can get interactive. Give me some good date ideas. Sabina, it looks like you're the only female on deck right now. Can you give me what would be a good date? Picnic on the beach is my thing. Are you serious about Chuck E. Cheese, or was that being sarcastic? Because, are you going to go play in the plastic balls? Give me an example, Rob. I mean, cities do help. But you know what? Actually, some of the better dates I've heard of, I remember there was a guy in Oklahoma that was a client of mine, and he did horseback riding quite a bit. I mean, that's pretty. Bowling, sports, live theater, exotic food. Exotic food? What is that? Tell me more about that. Festivals. I suppose. I mean, what does Corey Wayne say, right? Have dinner, go back to my place, open up a bottle of wine. And I even think I've seen a couple Corey Wayne videos where he says, you need to penetrate her. It's like, whoa. You gotta love Corey. Legend continues. Let me see what else I pulled up here on my notes. Hold on. So I wrote out, why did my wife fall out of love with me? Like I said, you need to keep dating her. Seems like the simple answer that a lot of people say. I think I've talked about this before. It can still go wrong. Because I believe that there are couples that make the attempt, or one person makes the attempt. And I've been in a relationship one time where the ship was sinking. And then you're like, wow, when we go out to our usual places that we used to really enjoy, it's just old. And then you try something new, maybe a wine festival or something like that, and you just don't have that much fun and you don't have that much to talk about. Because when you've been together so long and you've been really close, at some point, unless your private lives are really interesting to the other person or your job's really interesting, I think you do run out of things to talk about. But I have noticed this. Does anyone else notice this, that in 2021, that, I don't know, if you're in a coffee shop, a restaurant, that there's a large majority of couples that are on their phones not talking for a majority of dinner? Or I've even seen where someone pulls out their computer and is doing some kind of work and they're sitting next to each other. Would that be considered a date? How about this for an idea? And this is countering the idea of, well, you need to keep dating your wife. I would take it a step further, and tell me I'm wrong. I would take it a step further and say, continue to keep being attractive. Now, so a lot of times you might think like, well, just to look good, right? But if you're, for example, let me put it this way. Let's say you're continuing to date your girlfriend or your wife. You go out to dinner regularly. You go to opera shows. I knew someone that did that. I was like, wow, you go to the opera? He's like, yeah. It's like, wow, okay, that's pretty interesting. Your girlfriend enjoys that? Okay, cool, man. Anyhow, but let's say that you let yourself go, but you keep dating your wife, right? You get fat, or you stop grooming yourself the same way. You stop caring, which, you know, if you ever seen the movie Forgetting Sarah Marshall, that's very common actually, right? Where you just kind of go, I got a good looking wife, or I'm in a good relationship and I don't have to try as hard. Men seem to do this more often than women, but women can do it also. If he just dates her, is that going to be okay? If she's embarrassed to be with him or is no longer physically attracted? Someone might go, well, that's really shallow. It's realistic. It's realistic. It's something you don't want to address. There was one of these YouTube channel shows that was on recently, and this guy that, you know, was talking about how women are this, women are that, referring to women as 10s and 9s, and how they don't appreciate men the way they used to, and they're looking for too much. And this guy, like, looking at this guy on the video, he has no chance with a 10, probably. So he's judging these women out of bitterness in a lot of ways. because and then he goes, well, I'm a bit out of shape here and there, but that's okay. And he even referenced wearing a girder belt, whatever that is, to suck in fat. And I was kind of thinking to myself, wow, dude, it's like, do you have an opportunity with these women that you're putting down? Could it be that you're bitter? I don't know. If you're going to go around going, oh, this woman's a 10 or a 9 and you're a 5, you're a 5 or you're a 4, okay, right? My point is, even if you keep dating your wife or your girlfriend, you still need to, if you want to be in the best situation possible, you still need to be on point. You still need to be at a place where you care about your appearance. And I would just say, if I had to give you a temperature read on that, I would say, are you in similar shape to maybe within 10 or 20% of the level you were at when you first met? That's a really good question. Could you still fit in the same jeans? Right? But that one, I think, is more important than dating your wife. Are you still attractive physically and mentally? You can go on the dates, but if they've lost attraction for you, they're going to sit on their phone the whole time. Right? So I wrote, you need to keep being attractive, not just physically, but in your approach. Are you confident in your daily life? That has to do with your job, your purpose, which is the popular generalization phrase. I've said this many times. Your confidence probably comes from being good at 2 or 3 things, really good at a couple things, really good at them. That would contribute to you being attractive. Are you fine? Again, if you're lacking confidence or you have less confidence than when you first dated due to a set of circumstances or losing a job, you could keep dating her and it's not gonna do anything. Are you finding ways to connect through humor or laughing or adventure? Now, this is something that I know in past relationships I absolutely lost. And I think that ends up getting layered into boring conversations or just spending too much time together. Right? Mating for Captivity, which is a book that I've talked about before, and a story that was just sent in to me recently was referenced in. One of the biggest points the lady makes is couples need space and time to miss each other. And I think if you miss each other, when you see each other, you're a little bit more excited to see each other. Maybe some more humor, some more laughter, some more adventure. How about this one? This is good stuff here. Do you observe what excites your wife physically and mentally? Now, some people are absolutely not people readers. They're unobservant. They're not mindful. There's a guy I know that owns a successful restaurant cafe type thing, and he runs the place, and it's very busy. And so he knows a lot of the people there. And this guy conversationally reads nothing that the other person is saying. It's always him talking about him or the restaurant. And then if you start talking about yourself or another idea, he's gone. He'll cut the conversation short. He'll stop you and talk about himself. He's interested in talking about himself, but he doesn't observe. And it's literally, I've been in conversations, or I've seen the conversations from far, and I've seen the people's body language turn at him and kind of go, wow, you just cut me off. Or wow, you're not even listening to what I said. And he doesn't even see it. He has no idea. He has no idea the way he's communicating is me. And that would transfer over into a relationship when you're not observing, like, what really excites my wife or my girlfriend? Like what really, and I look back at my relationships and I wasn't observant of this enough. This is a really good question to come back to. And I'm talking about physically, intimately, and mentally. Those could be three different things, but excitement is different for different people, right? So I think if you key in and filter for that, you'll notice some things. And looking back in past relationships, you're like, wow, she really liked this, or we really had a good time the one time we went to the beach in the afternoon or something like that. Why didn't we double down on that? Why didn't we do that more often? It's because you're not being observant of it. You're not making note of it. I think that would be more valuable than just going, I need to date my wife more. Because a lot of times in the beginning, if you're highly attracted to each other, going out to dinner serves its purpose. Going out to dinner is your primary date. Correct me if I'm wrong. When you start seeing someone, it's got to be number one. I mean, these other things like hiking are up there. You can say roller skating. I don't know. Whatever. Let's see here. Trying new stuff together. That's a pretty broad reason. And then the biggest one I would say why you probably fell out of love with each other is, do you have enough times to miss each other? I think that one's really overlooked. I think that if you look back on the times that maybe in your relationship where one of you took a trip to visit family or business, really think about, did that person miss you a lot while you were gone? Looking back at some of my relationships, there was moments where they didn't miss me or where they really missed me. It's actually a really good gauge to see where your relationship is and see how much they're attracted to you. And finally, do you respect each other? I wrote, all said you can do all these things and it could still go wrong. I want to just be honest and upfront that there's a lot of times where guys will go, they'll take the blame on this. She said, I fell out of love with you. I no longer have the same feelings. This is a classic line, not just from the movies. This happens a lot. And then the guy's frantically going back over what he should have done to be a better man and more present and dated her better, showed her more love. But the reality is, even if you dated her, even if you did everything right, she still could be working with some guy that she just finds hot and she's attracted to, and they went out to lunch a few times. And I hate to say it, it's just human. And you were doing everything right in the relationship for the most part. I mean, not everything 1,000%, but you were up there. You were a pretty good catch and whatnot. It can happen. Or she could just be at a place in her life where she feels like, I want to change. It's boring. I'm tired of 2 eggs, 2 bacon, and 2 pieces of wheat toast and a coffee every morning. I'm tired of it. It's just boring. And here's the thing. Have you ever been in one of these relationships where it starts to get stale, where it starts to get boring, where it starts to get predictable, and one person's kind of okay with it, and the other person starts to kind of tail off, and then you realize they're starting to talk to someone, or, right? This isn't because you just didn't date each other. This is because layers and layers of time, but also the elephant in the room, they met a new group of friends. They got a new job. Someone showed interest in them. They read some post on Instagram that said that, you shouldn't be with someone in your 20s, that, you should be spreading your wings. And some guy writes a big article about his breakup was the best thing that ever happened to him. And you read it and you go, oh my God, I need to live that life. There's all kinds of variables. But I would say if I had to put a couple above dating your wife, I would say keep being attractive without trying. And that would relate to, who were you when you first met? And secondly, do you have a life of your own where you're creating space and time to miss each other? Folks, tell me what you think about that. What would be a best date? All right. Let me get to the live stream here. Corey Wayne says go on multiple short dates on one day. So go to 3 to 4 different cafes, restaurants in the same evening. And how does that work? So you're going to have like a little hors d'oeuvre at each place or a little drink at each place? It's still going out to dinner, right? The date is forgetting about everything what's going on in and outside world and just connect with your partner no matter where you are. So is there something better than going out to dinner? I like hiking. I'm with you on that one, Rob, 1000%. I actually do that. So what you do in that case when you are trying, but it's not the same when you are in that position now. So what you do in that case when you are trying, but it's not the same. Angel Jimenez, can you reframe that or elaborate a little bit? I'm a little confused by your question. I think you're lowballing. It's like 70% of people on devices. Yeah, depends on where you're at, but yeah. If a man goes out of his masculine energy, then is end of the relationship. Any 3 dinner guests dead or alive? Mystery, Rollo, David Price. Any 3 dinner guests dead or alive? Mystery, Rollo, Mac McCarthy. You want to go to dinner, David Price? I can talk, my friend. I can talk. I talk till the doors close. That's masculine energy above other person. That guy's a red flag guy. Run away from him. He has no clue how to act within the dynamic. Many people have no reflection ability skills. Oh, I'm talking about this guy that he has no clue. He has absolutely no clue. And you're watching it. And it's kind of funny because I was mentioning this on 2 coaching sessions yesterday I had with 2 different women. And this is an interesting way to look at it. Have you ever had someone you know and you're having lunch with them or dinner with them and they get something in their mustache or their face or on their cheek and they don't know it? And you're like, hey, right here. And they're like, oh, and they keep missing it. It's literally, they have no clue that they act this way. But I'm saying like the reaction from the people is kind of like, you could see that they're kind of like, okay. You know, I remember this guy, someone was complaining about the air conditioning in this place. And so the guy came over and he had this rant. The owner of the cafe was like, yeah, I'm working on it. He's going on and on. And the guy goes, well, where's the vent at? And where's the air coming in? Well, it doesn't matter. He goes, well, I'm an engineer. And I do. And he talked over him again and walked away. And the guy looked at me like, I'm an engineer. These are things that I deal with in buildings. So I could probably give him some really good advice. Okay. He didn't even catch that the guy was trying to help him or give an opinion. And it was like, whoa, right? I think that one of the privileges I've had in being a coach and dealing with people so long for one-on-one is I already thought I was pretty good at it, not to toot my own horn, but I will. But now reading people's body language or reactions to questions or how we're conversating, it says so much. You know, when someone just squints their eyes a little bit, or when someone moves their body back, they're telling you something. If one person is a very conversational person like you, the partner is engaged in the beginning because of the newness and excitement, but the girl is actually really shy and her excitement kind of levels off. Will they get sick and maybe annoyed of the conversationalists over time? Well, at the end of the day, Chuckster, I gotta be me, right? So when I consider myself a conversationalist, that's who I am. Now, I will say this. I don't just talk about myself. I'll ask questions, and it's a two-way street, and I'll listen. So I won't just sit there. It's one thing to be a big talker. It's another thing. Conversation's 2 ways. I think that over time, the more you go out and the more you conversate, and especially if you do it 5 or 6 days a week, yeah, the conversations will get old. The stories are no longer there. Your first few dates, you got a lot of stuff to talk about, right? And that's where I think it's underrated to miss each other, to create space. And right now, it's been 0 or 100 in a lot of people's relationships because of the lockdown. They went from dating to maybe let's just stay together during the lockdown. That's a no-no. If you're 24/7 for someone that you've just been seeing for the first time, let alone someone of 10 years, both of them, you're going to get sick of them. Oh, Clutch made an appearance on here. All right. Man, you're a night owl, bud. Can date the wife all one wants, but if someone cannot demonstrate how to properly create, maintain attraction, it really doesn't matter where the guy takes the date, likely will fail. Well, that's my point. I get the point. I get it that you need to keep dating, but it's not that simple. The key to keep being attractive is knowing how to be attractive, and that's what most guys have no clue about. Now, here's the thing, Mr. Rob IS. Does the same principles apply to every relationship? Now, for example, I would say this. Not all women are attracted to the same things. Now, there's some basics, right? Like leadership, confidence, grooming. If you ever, I've mentioned this before because Rob comes on every live stream, so some things are repetitive. My apologies, Rob, but I got to say, Playboy Magazine, which I used to have a subscription to when I was like 20, 21, great articles. And they'd have like, I don't even know what you call it this, the pinup models. And they'd interview them, right? And they'd ask them questions. And the number one things that women liked over and over and over again, these pinup models, would be confidence. Confidence was always number one, and I forgot what the other one was. But you know what the biggest turnoff was? Bad breath. Always. Always. And you think everyone will have that covered. Nope. Smell is a big deal for women. Big deal. Shit, smell's a big deal for... Have you ever dated a woman that had a perfume on that you didn't like? That's something that I've had a few times where I went, ew, that smells like toilet water mixed with sugar. It's just nasty. It's like you put on a bunch of deodorant or something like that, and it's like, oh, is that a perfume you just bought? And yeah, it's nice, right? And I'm just like, ugh. The key to keeping attractive. Sabina Chuckster, introvert, an extrovert person, can hardly make the relationship work. Petty Betty, it's been a minute. I hope you're well, hon. Petty Betty, we're talking about, we started this out with why your wife fell out of love with you, but what I was getting at is a lot of times guys say, well, I needed to keep dating her or courting her, and I'm saying, it's a lot deeper than that. But in the beginning of the conversation, I'd like your opinion, Petty Betty MC. Welcome from England. What's a good date choice outside of going to dinner? I just thought of this because a lot of times when you're a couple, isn't that your go-to thing? Is going to dinner? What would be like a top 5 dates that you've gone on, Petty Betty? I know you've been on a few. MC, you've been on a few, I suppose. Sabina, I mean, what would surprise you? What would you go like, that's actually a really good date. That's a good idea outside of going to dinner or lunch. First date, doing anything which involves walking and not sitting face to face is better as it takes away pressure and keeps things light. Okay, MC. Agreed, Rob. When couples fall into these patterns, it's over. Successful relationships don't encounter crap like, I'm falling out of love with you. If you hear that, it's over, period. David Price, you play baseball? I guess... And the funny thing you say about that, David, is when people come to me and that statement's made, they don't feel like it's over. They feel like they can redirect your ship. And never, I would say that I still have to hear the story and go through it. And someone could say that and then come back to you a few months later. But you're not going to be able to overcompensate and flip the switch right away. And a lot of people go, oh, that's just due to attraction. Like I said, sometimes they could have just met someone. And that, to me, happens a lot. They're not going to say I met someone or I'm attracted to someone at work. They'd rather say, oh, I fell out of love with you, because telling you that would make them the bad guy, right? This more or less makes it kind of like, oh, this just kind of happened. And it happens. Samantha B throwing the red hearts out. Well, happy Valentine's Day to you too, hon. No, I wasn't singling you out as a bad thing. I didn't take it that way. If you're talking to me, does the same principles apply to every relationship? Well, mostly yes. Really? Interesting. I don't know. There's some intricacies, Mr. Rob. How about this? Even though I don't want to be in a relationship, let's just unpack this really quick. I don't want to be in a relationship where I'm a doormat or where it feels like my wife dictates and runs the show. But there's some men out there that are completely content with that kind of relationship, and they're okay with it. And they end up being married for 30, 40 years. And they go, happy wife, happy life. Whether that doesn't line up with me or it makes me cringe a bit, does that mean that it's an unsuccessful relationship? I don't know. Not really. Is Playboy still active as a magazine? Probably. The articles are really good reads. Just an example, conversation is a great thing. Chuckster, like I said, I didn't think you were singling me out. Say whatever you want. I don't get offended easily. Most guys can't follow through with a good flow of conversation. Well, like I tell people sometimes, when you go on a date, don't be scared to spill a drink. What does that mean? It means, if you're in the middle of something and you mess up or you say something that you feel like that was out of cuff or out of pocket, as some people say, just keep rolling. Keep the conversation going. Don't overreact to it. Acoustic is important to the color of the person's voice. Acoustic is important to the color of what do you mean by that? Chuckster says skydiving. Yeah, first date. Hey, hey MC, did you want to go skydiving with me next week? What? Excuse me? I don't even know you. Swimming after the picnic. Is that the pitcher for the Dodgers? Yep. David Price played for the Red Sox, I think, for a while. He's a good player. Late night drives with music. Okay. Zoo. Comedy clubs. Surfing. Or a sport you can't do as it's fun. Not dinner or cinema. Even on a first date, MC? Wouldn't a first date be dinner? Oh my God, that is ghetto, Petty Betty. I went to a swap meet date and I thought it was hot as... I know Temecula, California, actually, but it was different. I dated him for like 3 years after that. But I mean, did you think it was a date? I went on a swap meet date. I'll tell you what, that man has confidence. Date should be an adventure. Date should leave them wanting more, like a cliffhanger at the end of a TV show. So Rob or Clutch, give us a date that you went on that you left it as a cliffhanger, or you feel like, damn, that was a good date, and I made that possible. Voice does count, huh, Sabina? That counts for YouTube and Audible books, audiobooks, which I really like from Audible. Audible books, audiobooks from Audible. I've noticed that sometimes I just go, I can't even listen to this person. I don't like dinner for the first date as it's a hard escape. That makes sense. I don't think I've had a situation where I felt like I needed to escape. Yeah, I don't think I've had that situation. Because I can just make conversation anyways. Will you actually say, Sabina? Will you actually say, I really liked his voice? Baseball game. If you're a Pirates fan, you can great seats. Practically nothing. Is that where you're at? You're in Pittsburgh? That's a cool city. Home of the great Mr. Rogers. Smokers and drinkers have bad, deep voice, too. Wow, I don't like dinner on the first date because I can't escape. Actually, thinking about it, voice does count, huh? It does. You're right. Tone and voice count. It's subliminal, huh? Because it's something you don't go back to your friends and go, oh, and their voice was so great. But there is such thing as annoying voice. How about when someone, this is kind of funny. When someone has a goofy laugh. There's this one woman I know, and I don't want to say where because she might watch the show from time to time. But if you've ever seen Chrissy from Three's Company, she used to laugh like this and have this like hoarse laugh. And this woman, she's good looking and everything, and when she laughs, she goes like her whole mouth opens up and she just goes total dork. And it's kind of funny. There's someone else I know like that. When they laugh or they smile, it's just dork. Dorks are cool in a lot of ways, but it's just like full mouth open. Dork is not attractive. I don't know. I've had a girlfriend before that I used to tease her that she was a dork in a very pretty way. Yeah, she was pretty, but she was just like, "Oh, you're a dork," in a playful way, right? Dork's not all bad. I don't think it's a horrible thing to call someone a dork or a nerd either, right? Dorks are definitely not attractive. I guess, hey, Clutch, I guess women could get away, a dorky, cute woman could get away with it more, right? Every date Rob goes on is like an episode of 24 with the cliffhangers. They never make it to the fourth because they've had a heart attack waiting on what his next move will be. A bated breath. I mean, I remember, this is a while back. I got about 15 minutes here. This is a while back with this client of mine. He was a cool dude too. Had a breakup with a fiance, actually. That doesn't happen often. He broke up with his fiance and he even asked for the ring back afterwards because he was making payments on it. I said, you asked for the ring back? He goes, well, yeah, man, it's expensive. I got payments on that thing, you know? And I'm like, but you want to get back with her? I'm like, that was a bad move. And she said, no, I'm keeping it. It was your decision to ask me to marry you. It was your decision to break up. I'll keep the ring. And I thought to myself, I go, just leave it alone now, man. Don't ask for it back again. If you want to get back with her, if you want to make a big deal out of this, there's no chance of getting back together after that. But he left it alone. He left it on good terms. They kind of worked together. He was in a really good place mentally. The difference with his breakup was he broke up with her and then realized later on it was his bad. And they were in a really good place. They were about to get married. But anyways, he got an opportunity, I want to say 6 to 9 months later, within a year, where the other girl let him take him out on a date, or was open to going on a date, right? So he had another shot. So he's like, hey man, I just want to talk to you really quick. I'm about to go out with her tomorrow. I'm like, well, just, don't try to go 0 to 100. Just go out on a date and have a good time and see what happens. No big expectations. He's like, yeah. And he's like, I got a carriage with a horse carriage. We're going to go through. And I'm like, is this some shit you usually, like, he went all out romantic, 80s romantic comedy. And I went, is this what you usually do? I'm like, cancel the horse and carriage for the first date back. And he's like, really? I'm like, that's heavy. That's heavy, bro. And fortunately, by chance, I think it was raining that night or something. So the guy, whoever was going to be the horse and carriage, like, canceled on him. But I thought that was a little heavy when you get back, like, you're going back out with your ex that you haven't seen for over 6-8 months that you were fiance with, and you're like, you got a horse and carriage. That's pretty heavy. I guess some women that are really, really big romantics might gush over it, right? I don't know. Who am I to say? I mean, I'm a dork. I wear that like armor. Yes, I am into video games better than being into drugs. Good for you, Clutch. Good for you, bud. I think that whoever you are, if you're happy with who you are, that's confidence. That's attractive to a lot of people. Own it. Right? There's a massive difference between dork and pushover. Good point. I agree. It's funny. There was a lady that sent me her breakup story a long time ago, and she said, she described the guy as pencil neck, really skinny but great posture, nerdy, kind of dorky, but he was really attractive to me because he was very smart. I believe he was a teacher also, and she was way into him, and she said he was a dork, nerdy kind of guy, but he wore it. He accepted it. And it was kind of just her description. He had great posture, but he had a pencil neck, and he was extremely skinny, wore glasses, right? All that stuff. But she was attracted to it, and he was confident. He wasn't a pushover. On a first date, if he talks about his ex, I slowly back out the door and run. That's funny. Just because I'm a dork doesn't mean I'm a pushover. You're right. There's a big difference. Good, Chuckster. I'm glad you're enjoying it, bud. It's funny because I wasn't going to do a live stream today, and then I was going to make some videos, and the great Aleph canceled out. I've had a guy sing to me on a date. Did you like it? I've had a couple women sing me a song before. I mean, I'm not a great singer. I've got a really good friend that after dinner at his house, he has like dinner parties or groups over. He always wants everyone to sing. And it's like, come on, Mac. And I'm like, I just don't sing. Oh, everyone can sing, man. Come on. He pulls up the words, and it's just uncomfortable. I've tried it a couple times. But I've had a few women that are like, do you want me to sing your song? I'm like, okay. Chuckster, say whatever you want. I stay away from women that are into horses. Expensive hobby. It is. That's so funny, Clutch. I'll never. Oh my goodness. There's a story to that one too, Clutch. I got a Rolodex in my head. Horses. There was a guy I knew that I won't say the county or city, but basically like equivalent to Beverly Hills. He was a cop, and he was visiting out here in Thailand. I used to run a small, well, I didn't run it, owned it, where we used to rent motorbikes, kind of like the classic thing in a tourist community, right? And so this guy rented a bike with him and his friend that was another policeman. And they were like, oh my God, you live here, man. This is, like all this stuff. So they were like, hey, I said, yeah, I'll show you around a little bit. And we went to the pub and had some drinks and whatnot. And we're talking. And the guy was married, and he had just retired. He was retiring in his early 50s, I think, with like a pension that was like 90 grand a year. I said, damn, dude, move over here. He goes, I'm married, man, and my kid's 13. I can't do that, I said, well, bring him over here. There's private schools and stuff like that. And he goes, yeah, no, it's not going to happen. He goes, and my wife's got a horse. I said, what? Excuse me? He goes, man, never. He goes, it's my fault. She had a horse when we first started dating. She's had a horse throughout our marriage. He goes, we got to pay for it to stay someplace, the veterinarian bills, the feed. He's like, it's like $1,000 a month. I said, excuse me? Yeah, it's about $1,000 a month. He goes, I should have known going into it, but Clutch, good point. Expensive hobby might be an understatement. Oh, we can race horses together? You better have millions, my friend. If the excitement is lowered to nothing and things are left like that, the level of anticipation might be lower in some cases. I play polo. I play Jai Alai. I don't know what that is. It's funny because in Thai, Jai means heart. Is Jai Alai one of those things where it has that like snow cone thing for the ball? I was trying to be nice about it, but 2 women I dated were into horses. Both of them have a thing for being on top related, probably. Oh, God, Clutch. It's funny you say that because I remember I worked with a woman when I was working at a charity, and we were all out to lunch, this group, and one of the girls that was a volunteer. I got paid because I was a teacher, but a lot of people were volunteers. And she was like 21, 22, came from a pretty wealthy family, and she's like, "Oh my God, I just miss my horse so much and riding on the beach," and just was going on and on. I was like, "Can you just save it?" I was like, no one really wants to hear it. And she's like, what? I'm like, it's kind of like saying you have a Ferrari at your house that you haven't driven in a while. No, it's not. It's not the same thing. Everyone started laughing. No one wants to hear about your horse that you ride on the beach and you're 21 years old, that you've grown up with. I'm so glad I don't have to deal with my ex singing in the car anymore. I hate it when they go overboard. It's like they're in a freaking opera. I hope I never hear "I Will Always Love You Again." The Whitney Houston song? That's a dramatic one. Yeah, it was played in the opening scene. Rob, yes, I saw a few games, but just on TV. Horse on the beach and very popular in Andalusia. Where's that, Spain? I laugh when people play the song at weddings. You realize that's a breakup song, right? People play that song at weddings? That's funny. You're right. It is a breakup song. I would say that probably 20% of all songs ever made are breakup songs, including hip hop. I didn't even know that Andalusia was, but I know that there's a kind of horse called Andalusians or something like that. All right, folks, I got about five minutes probably. Yeah, I can do 5 minutes. Any closing questions? Any topics you want me to touch on in the next live stream? Almost didn't go on today. I thought, wow, it's a little bit late. Thank you for the likes. LinderTube. Hey, peeps. Hope all is well, Mac, man. LinderTube, it's been a while. How you been, my friend? I hated anybody who had a pony when they were growing up. I didn't know anyone in my neck of the woods, my neighborhood, that had a pony. I don't think that anyone had a horse. Had a couple lizards, a couple frogs, a turtle, a few dogs, no ponies. No fish either. Never had a fish tank. That's probably a smart move. That's a lot of things to clean. Chuckster throws down $4.99. You're the man, Chuckster. I appreciate you, bud. Appreciate you a lot. Topic: dynamics around dating someone who openly dates other people at the same time. That's a good point. Yeah, I'll write that down. Clutch probably will know a lot about that. But what's the point of that joke? What is there more of that than when I saw pictures of refugees? I saw them on boats. I didn't see any of them with a pony. What am I missing from that? Great show as always, Matt. Keep up the great work. Well, thanks, DP. Have you ever watched a comedy show and thought, I think I might be funnier than this person. Maybe I should do stand-up comedy. It could be legit dating the beginning where some girl has a 3 or 4 dating rotation and you are the 5th guy. How to differentiate yourself? I mean, would a woman tell you that though? I'm going to tell you the truth. I was in my teen years. I didn't watch a lot of TVs. I was always working or I had a part-time job throughout school. I always joke around. I think I worked harder when I was in my teens and early 20s and even that. Like, I was always busy. I didn't really when I was a teenager like Seinfeld that much. I didn't hate it, but I didn't worship it the way some other people do. I think that's funny, though, when you do say something and you don't think it's offensive to anyone and someone finds a way to be offended by it, though, right? It's like recently in an email I just sent to someone there, they go, well, this, and this is what you said. And I said, well, I think you just had a misinterpretation. There's a misunderstanding here. And some people insist that, no, that's what you meant. Okay, well, up to you what you want to think. Let me get back to Rob's question because I think that's a good one. Folks, if anyone wants to do some hypnotherapy and try something new, if you want some things you want to let go of, I've been doing that more and more. I've had, this past month, I've probably done it about 30 times. So if you're interested in trying a new technique and letting go of some things in your life, and also at the end of it, taking you to a peaceful place where everything's great, I do that stuff now. So if you want to get into that and try it, let me know. Dating someone who openly... I don't know if I've ever dated someone that openly told me they were seeing other people. I don't think I've ever asked that. I'm not sure if I want to know. Good topic. You know, because it's interesting because guys are encouraged to spin plates, but are they spinning plates with other plates that are spinning plates? Ricky Gervais is the funniest. Ricky Gervais has some balls, I'll say that. Sometimes it never happens. It's all different. By the way, I'm dating a couple other guys casually. Typically, that only happens in the early stages. I've never had that happen to me. God, there's... Well, think about it. If you think about it, if you're spinning plates and they're spinning plates and they're spinning plates, is that more and more common? What's interesting is, you read attraction and stuff like that. We're live, Eduardo Martinez. You read stuff like that and you think like, but a lot of women are telling me a lot of the ways that men are told to be with women are actually being told by dating gurus to be that way with men. Have you heard this before, Clutch? You might know more about this in a deeper way, being from the Southern California area. That women are actually being taught the same techniques. It's kind of interesting because if both... Hold on. How about that? That's my cue. I got to go. Yeah, ask my ex. All right, folks, we'll get it going tomorrow again. I appreciate you all. Take it easy. It's curtains. That was my appointment right there for the next coaching session. Take it slow, folks. Eduardo, sorry you catch me on the end here, bud.